boxer, legend, Mr. Robbie Regan. How are you, my friend?
It wasn't until I went to the gym and I found the sport that I just fell in love with it straight away, and just comes so natural to me. I mean, my first fight was for Wales, and I was in the Commonwealth Games. That's the first time I ever fought for Wales. First goal, and I've been drinking for a week now, so I thought if I get a good draw now and get fit, I got a good chance of medal. Proud to be Welsh champion of my own country, but obviously I knew I was a stepping stone to bigger and better things. It's always a fighter's dream and to box in America, which I did get offered the chance to go to America, but at the same time I got offered the chance to fight for the world title in Wales, and I was going up 2 weights, which I was really killing myself to make flyweight then. So I jumped at the chance because I had a shot at the bantamweight title without any other fights. So yeah, I took our fight in Wales. I got an illness, a virus, and that put me out for over a year. It took a long time to get diagnosed actually, and it wasn't until a doctor who specialises in foreign blood disorders found out what was wrong with me. It was a glandular fever related virus called Epstein-Barr.
You didn't even get injured necessarily in a particular fight, like you just had an illness and then they found the scar tissue on your brain. And you said like you struggled with depression afterwards. Like how did you deal with that? Like what was the feelings like for that? Because
I started drinking, and you're drinking to forget. People see you out drinking, think they're enjoying yourself. You're not enjoying yourself. You just drinking to forget.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Ace Podcast Nation. We're here at Eat Sleep Media again for another episode of my story. A very special one that I'm very excited about. He's been on before, but the first time in person. Very excited to welcome to the show, to Eat Sleep Media, back to the channel, former world champion boxer, legend, Mr. Robbie Regan. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good. It's nice to be
great
here. And
to have you back, mate.
Thanks for inviting me down.
It's my pleasure. It's my absolute pleasure. Obviously, look, we had a chat, didn't we, before, online. Unfortunately, the internet connection was a bit ropey, so it was a bit quiet and stuff. So I think I was nagging you from like a week after, like, come back. But like, I'm delighted to get you now. We can get you in person, hear some stories, have a chat and stuff. You are pretty fresh off a trip from America, though, aren't you, first and foremost?
Yeah. We went over there for 2 charities, Ringside Charitable Trust, to raising money to help boxers who've been injured or just having a tough time in life, and also for kids' cancer. And there was a lot of great fighters who come over with me. It was Michael Watson, Duke McKenzie, Colin McMillan, Steve Collins, amongst others. It was a fabulous trip, and it was a privilege to be part of it, to be honest.
Yeah, two awesome charities as well, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funny enough, when we were just walking up from the coffee shop, we were just talking about the need to help boxers after their careers are over. In some cases their careers can end prematurely. Some boxers go all the way through their career, but we do hear a lot of stories about boxers struggling once their career's over. In like your opinion, your experiences, like how do you think boxing as a sport can help do more to help those fighters who perhaps struggle a little bit once their careers are over?
Well, like say now, especially with Ringside Charitable Trust, they have a very special charity who doing so much for boxers, and they're looking for they're trying to get a 36-bedroom place or something built where they can house these boxers who need help, and they can look after them and give them the care they need.
That's amazing, that, isn't it? That'll be really really special if they could get that off the ground.
Absolutely. Well, the people who are behind it, Dave Alice and the team, I got no doubt they will achieve what they set out to do.
I will. What I'll do is I'll pop some links in the description to this episode for the charity, so people, if they want to donate, they can get involved or they can support. And obviously, I'm sure they'll have events and stuff.
Fantastic. There is an online where you can donate if you want. If you like.
Right, I'll put links and everything in that for descriptions. So people, please do support that. I think it's massively important. because we hear so many horror stories about, you know, fighters struggling after their careers are over and boxing's taken away from them. Not just boxers as well, you know, other sports, footballers and alike, where people have dedicated themselves to being a professional athlete. When that's suddenly not there anymore, the daily training, the camaraderie with your team, difficult, isn't it?
You know, when you're out to the limelight and you're soon forgotten, you know.
Yeah.
So
There's more people, new names, more people in there. It's unfortunate, I suppose, but like I say, all we can do is try and spread the word and make sure that people get the help they need. And I think these days, with everything like regarding mental health and stuff like that, it's better, isn't it? It's more open about, you know, particularly with men, encouraging men to talk about stuff. Obviously, you know, when I was younger, and I'm sure when you were younger, that was mental health, particularly for men, was not a thing. You know?
and it wasn't that much help out there then, to be honest.
No.
But there is help there now. You know, you just got to know the right people to contact.
And that's it. It's getting the word out, isn't it, about who those people are and how to contact them, which is obviously something which hopefully we can do. Let's talk about you though, mate, a little bit. Hear some of these stories and stuff. I don't want to like retread, like what we did on the first show was we basically kind of went fight by fight pretty much, and we kind of talked about it that frame. Talk to me a little bit first about your upbringing, the early days. What was you like as a child? What was like, what were you into? Were you good? Were you bad? Were you sporty? Like, what was you like as a boy?
I was never into any sport at all. You know, I never played football or rugby or anything. It wasn't until I went to the gym and I found the sport that I just fell in love with it straight away, and you know, just come so natural to me. You know, and we didn't have much back in them days, but you know, we was happy.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because like say, like a lot of people who go on to be professional athletes, they quite often are, you know, they're good at a couple of different sports, or they're generally, you know, quite sporty. But you, like you say, you weren't really.
No, I mean, music was sort of my thing. I was a bit of a rocker, you know. I walked in the gym with long hair and.
I'd love to have seen that.
Some of the old time boxers, you know, and they really are old timers, and they looked at me because I had long hair, and they just shook their head and said, "I'll never make a boxer."
So what was the music you would have been listening to back like at that point?
Yeah, I was always into like all the rock bands like Led Zeppelin, A.C.E, Motorhead.
Proper bands,
yeah.
Proper music. You still listen to them today?
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan. Still a massive fan.
Like it. So you went in the gym there and you gave boxing a try. Why did you try boxing? Like, was there something which come from, you know, like your old man or people you knew?
No, there was no boxing in the family as such. I was on holiday with my Uncle Pat, who was who was a trainer in the Dye Garden stable.
Yep.
And Dye was actually on holiday with us, and so we spoke about the boxing gym, and me and my brother decided to go. And I think Dye was more interested in my brother than he was in me, to start with, to be honest. But my brother only went a couple of times. He said it's not for him. Boxing for him, no.
That's interesting. So, did it take you a while to kind of get into it, or was you pretty natural, pretty quick?
I found it pretty natural, you know. As soon as I hit that bag, I thought I can do this.
Yeah.
It's just come natural, and I just fell in love with it straight away.
So from there, what was the amateur scene like back? What sort of years would we be talking then?
I started when I was nearly 15, so that's like 1983.
So yeah, 83. So what was the amateur scene like then? Like, would you have gone as a 15, 16-year-old? Would you have had some amateur fights at that point, or would you have done mainly training?
No, I know. After a few months of training, I had my first fight. And it wasn't very long, and I was in the world squad because, you know, there's not a lot of boys my weight then. I was like, you know, 16 and weighing 7.5 stone.
Jesus. The 7.5 stones seems so small, doesn't it?
Yeah, I made that weight until I was 19. You know, it was killing me in the end to make the weight, but I made it till I was 19.
How did you used to find weight cutting? Because obviously these days they got all like sports science and, you know, all the rest of it. Like, didn't have that in the 80s.
No, we didn't have nutritionists or none of that. You had to do all off your own head. So, you know, it was just strict diet. I just mainly stick to the foods I'd always eat: pasta, chicken, you know, a lot of carbs and non-fat and stuff.
Yeah.
Really.
So, did you what was your forgive me? What was your amateur record like? Was it pretty good? Do you ever lose any fights
Oh
at
yeah,
amateur?
yeah. I mean, I know I was boxing boys and I'd have probably 10, 12 fights and I've had like 70 fights.
Wow.
You know,
That's a big difference.
I
Isn't it?
was straight into the senior squad and he's like a boy boxing man really, you know. I mean, my first fight was for Wales, and I was in the Commonwealth Games. That's the first time I ever fought for Wales.
Do you know that's the second time this week that I've spoken to a Commonwealth boxer, like obviously Kieran Jones I had here Tuesday, who's obviously fought for Wales at the Commonwealth Games. How proud a moment was that for you to represent Wales at the Commonwealth Games?
Oh, it was amazing, you know, especially just being 17 and
So young, isn't it?
yeah, I never boxed Wales before. I mean, to be chucked into something as big as that, you know, it was a bit daunting, but you know,
Yeah.
but it was exciting as well.
What about nerves? Were you like in those early days? How were you a nervous fighter beforehand? Like, would you sort of build it up, or was you just quite relaxed?
You know, you same sort of nervous as any man, you know, who got a fight coming up or go walk into the ring. But you know, I was never scared of no one. I'd fight anybody they wanted me to.
Yeah. So Commonwealth Games, that was an experience and a half. How did you do with the Commonwealth Games?
Well, I wasn't picked first of all. Because I wasn't picked, I went down to Pascal and I was on holiday. And then there was a couple of African countries that something happened and they pulled out, so they needed boxers. So they come and got me down in Pascal, and I've been drinking for a week now. So I thought, if I get a good draw now, and you know get fit, I got a good chance of medal. And then my first fight, I drew the favourite, Mark Epton, who was 3-time senior ABA champion and
Experienced.
very good fighter. You know, a lot more experience at that level than me. You know, he boxed in world championships, you know, Olympics, Commonwealths. You know,
And you as a 17-year-old, you had been on a piss a week before. Yeah, that's a big ask, isn't it? Big ask.
Yeah.
But what an experience, you know, for a 17-year-old
yeah.
Welsh boy to be in that arena and that experience. That's only, I'm assuming, going to have built you, made you stronger mentally, made you a better boxer for when you've then gone into your career.
As I said, you know, I was a very experienced boy, you know, and I gave him a hell of a fight. So, you know, I learned a lot from our fight, and it was good, put me in good stead for my further fights.
Do you find you learn more from like a bad day or a loss or a tough fight than what you would if you went in and...
I always think you learn more from a defeat than a win. You always learn more from a defeat.
Yeah.
Not I had many defeats.
No. So, you know, by the time you were looking at turning professional, did you feel like, you know, I'm going to be a world champion one day? Or was it, I want to be a world champion one day? Like, where was the sort of the mindset?
Absolutely, you know, I knew I was good enough to be world champion, and that was my dream. Like I said, I was an amateur, but I was still training in a professional gym.
Yeah.
So I was more pro styled, which wasn't really good for the amateur game. But my ambition was always to turn pro, and my dream was to be world champion. I remember when I just signed, well, about the week I signed, I was walking through my own town. I was living in Bargay then, and this old fella, he knew that I turned pro, and he said, he asked me, how do you think you do? I said, I'll be world champion, and he laughed at me. He thought, who's laughing now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny, don't it? Because like, just because, or not just maybe necessarily with you, but like, just because a fighter hasn't got the best amateur record doesn't always mean that they will not succeed at professional. Like you say, it's a different style. It's more about scoring points and things that are amateur in it, and it's almost like a different sport in some ways.
It is. It's a totally different sport.
Professional fight, first one.
My first pro fight, I boxed a boy called Eric George from Swansea. Sadly, Eric's no longer with us, and I was shocked and upset to hear that. I remember the fight took place, and the first 3 rounds were close, and he caught me the end of the third round, and it's the first time I really seen stars. So I come out then for the next round, and I decided I didn't want to take another one of them, and first time ever I went on the back foot, and that's when I really started to learn to box. And for the next 3 rounds I absolutely boxed his head off, and every mistake he made, I punished him for it.
Capitalised on
And
it.
the referee gave a draw at the end. I wasn't very happy about the draw, but Eric was happy about it. But I so I was angry when I pissed the fight.
Yeah, it's funny, innit? Because I think, like as a fighter, whether it's MMA these days or boxing, like your job is effectively to get punched in the face every day. It's a hard job. You're putting your life on the line, and there's obvious risks and everything which come with it, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later. But like if you've got I see some guys now who they've never lost an amateur, they come into professional, they win their first 5 or 6 fights or whatever, and then all of a sudden they come up against the next level. They fight someone proper, they get caught, and they're like, oh wow, because they've never been punched.
Yeah.
Because they've
been looked after.
Yeah, they have their records padded, for lack of a better term, don't they?
It's hard to be an unbeaten fighter, but you've got to have a look who's actually on the record.
Yeah.
What is any names there? Of guys who can fight.
Yeah, and like your record, like I look at some of the guys you fought, it's just unreal. Like, you were fighting proper fighters pretty much from the outset.
Yeah.
Like,
I won the British title in only my 8th fight. So I was taking in my 7th fight.
Yeah. So you were very, you were making a mark on the sport quickly.
Very quick.
First professional title was that a Welsh title? Was it?
That was a Welsh title. I boxed a boy, Kevin Jenkins. It was a great fight. I think I won near enough every round, and it was actually voted on Sky as undercard fight of the year.
Okay.
So you get the top of the belts, but imagine thousands of undercard fights. And then to win the undercard fight of the year was quite something to win.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. What was it like when you first, as you got getting these sort of Welsh title, British title, and you're moving up the card effectively, and obviously as you move up the card, you're on bigger shows. You have things like TV and media and things, which obviously changes, makes things different again. How did you used to deal with things like media and stuff like that? Did it bother you? Did you enjoy it? Was it just a pain?
Yeah, I enjoyed the tension. Like you say, once you won the Welsh title, obviously your dream ends to win the British.
Mm-hmm.
Once you win the British, you want to win Europe. Once you win Europe, you want to be world champ. But I wanted to be world champ from day one.
Yeah. Did you ever come across in the early days like people who you felt like maybe they were trying to steer you wrong, or like maybe didn't have your best interests at heart or anything like that, or did you keep your circle pretty tight? Like,
to fight for big titles, you've got to have a big promoter, and if you think a promoter is looking after you, you're going to be wrong with it, because the promoter, don't worry, he's looking after himself and number one first.
Yeah, unfortunately, the fighters seem to be like the last thought, which is a shame, because ultimately, if you haven't got fighters, you haven't got boxing. But such is life. And I think you see that now, like, with the likes of Jake Paul doing what he's doing. Like, people, love him or hate him or whatever. But the reason he's bringing in the money he's bringing in is because he's built up his following, and when he fights, people buy it, I suppose. And it's frustrating for fighters who are coming up, because they're like, well, I'm a better boxer than him. Why aren't I getting those opportunities? But it's because he's got whatever he's got, 10 million followers.
You've got to give him credit for that. He's a limited fighter. If he boxed anybody of any stature in boxing, he's going to get beat. But he knows how to make money, so you've got to take your hat off to him.
Yeah, well, and what did we just say about people who certain boxers or promoters or whatever, like they know how to pad their records. Yeah. So he's been very selective over who he's fought. Obviously, he hasn't really fought a boxer yet. And then they've tried to set up a couple of fights which have fallen through.
No boxer yet, but except for Mayweather. And Mayweather.
Yeah, well, that was Logan Paul, wasn't it? That was the other one.
Oh, was that?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Jake Paul has fought Tyrone Woodley twice, who's a former UFC champion. Ben Askren, obviously a former UFC guy. I think he was a baseball player and a basketball player, and maybe another YouTuber as well in there.
No
boxers, do they?
No.
So he was supposed to fight Tommy Fury a couple of times. That fell through. I think I got to be honest. I think he'll probably beat Tommy Fury.
Yeah.
Just because I think I think Tommy Fury is fairly limited himself, and I think
I agree.
he's got a bit of power behind him. But I think they were supposed to fight Hasim Rahman Jr.
Yeah.
That's fallen through, which was obviously this weekend. But like,
I think Eubank Jr. have offered to fight him.
Is he?
Didn't he? Yeah, but
that'd be interesting. You won't take that fight.
I don't
will you?
know. I can't see him taking that. No.
Because whatever people think of Chris Eubank Jr., and I know some people, you know, they don't always like the way he conducts himself.
Love him or hate him, he can fight.
Yeah,
You know.
and he's gonna, he destroy someone who hasn't trained
I'm not saying
all
he's
his
as good
life.
as his dad, but he can fight.
Yeah, and he's made, again, people around him have made good choices with the fights he's had over the years.
He got his own man behind him, so he knows the business inside out.
Of course, yeah.
He's going to look after his boy.
Going back to you then, when you won that Welsh title, what was the, like you said, you won the fight quite pretty handily. Like, what was that feeling? Did you allow yourself to, really feel it and embrace it as like, I'm the Welsh champion? That's the first step, or was it like literally just a stepping stone to the where you wanted to be?
No, I was very proud to be Welsh champion of my own country,
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, I knew I was a stepping stone to bigger and better things.
Yeah. British title then, wasn't it, next?
Yeah.
That's obviously it's bigger step again. What was that fight like?
Well, boxer by Joe Kelly from Scotland, and
Okay.
the
Battle of the Celts.
Yeah, and the boxing news had him favourite. They made me the underdog most of my title fights.
Never learned.
But I put on a great performance, and to win the British title in my only 8th fight was amazing.
How did it bother you whether you, like, maybe a bit later in your career when you kept winning, and did it bother you that you were sort of still kind of written off as like an underdog, or did you just like proving people wrong?
Well, when you're stepping up, and I was always taking titles off champions, so the champions usually favourite in any case,
of course.
because they are there and they've done
the
it.
champion. It's funny because, like you said, you kept just proving people wrong, and you kept going and you kept winning. And where's your favourite place you fought?
Well, all my title fights were in Cardiff, so Cardiff's like my second home. I'm a Valley boy, but Cardiff was just an amazing place to fight. And back then in the 90s, Cardiff was buzzing. And even some of the pundits said it was like this was like the Las Vegas of the day.
Yeah, well, like Cardiff 90s is like right up my alley. That was when I was in my prime.
Yeah.
And so, like, Wales fans, boxing fans, fight fans, MMA fans as well, and even football, rugby, they follow their team, their fighters. They follow them everywhere, don't they? Like, wherever you go, the Welsh fans will follow you. You've always had tremendous support from the Welsh public.
I had amazing support. They absolutely made my fight nights electric. They give me memories that'll last forever.
Was there ever a point maybe where you had a really hard fight and the crowd have kind of given you like that extra lift?
They always lift you. Even in a tough fight. And especially coming last couple of rounds, it really does give you a lift. Boxing at home, it's going to be worth 2 or 3 rounds to any fighter.
Yeah, well, we see that a lot, don't we, with judges, let's be honest. How do fighters feel about that, by the way? Like, judges being, like, we use the Josh Taylor and Cattrall fight as an example, but there's many examples where it looks like one fighter's won, and then all of a sudden the judges come out and the other fighters won, or it's a draw.
If a judges sort of don't see the correct man who should have had the decision, he should never be judging.
Mm.
And if they, some of these corrupt judges, they should be banned from the sport.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating, I think, for fighters, because if if you've won, don't you? I think.
Yeah, if you won or lost.
Even if it's a close fight, I feel like there's always going to be you're going to know, I think I probably lost that, or I probably won that, or it's very rare, I think, where you wouldn't know. Is that right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know if it's close, if you won it or lost it.
Mm. I'm assuming you've made a lot of friends, through boxing, a lot of acquaintances, a lot of close friends. Do you ever fall out with anyone particularly in boxing?
No, not really.
You don't seem like like a guy who falls out with people, really.
No, I haven't got time to argue.
No,
No.
no, it was because it's funny. Like you see a lot of these fights these days where the fighters are in the build-up, they're all arguing, they hate each other, and then the second the fight's finished, they're best friends.
Yeah, it seems the fashion today, sometimes, and a lot of times the press conferences are better than the fights. They talk good fight, and then when they get in there, they just don't produce.
Yeah, and as a fan, you're watching it, right, and I don't know whether it's me because I'm a boxing fan, I'm an MMA fan, I enjoy the sport, and I enjoy the combat, and I enjoy the skill of it.
Yeah.
And like, I'm quite happy to see two fighters say, I'm the best, no, I'm the best, let's go and prove it. I don't need them to hate each other all the time. Don't get me wrong, some fights when there's a bit of needle, like again, that Josh Taylor-Cattrall rematch, there's going to be needle there because of the way Josh Taylor's been afterwards. They're not going to be best friends.
No, it's a bit...
And it adds to it, doesn't
quite
it?
a bit of hatred. Yeah, of course, it's going to sell tickets.
But I think you can sell tickets off the skill of it and the sport of it as well.
If you're an established good champion, you're going to sell tickets. If you're a Manny Pacquiao or fighters of that calibre, you're going to fill arenas out.
Yeah. What about like with your career and stuff? What's the funniest thing you ever witnessed at a boxing event or in a thing? Like anything stand out for you where you were just like, wow, I can't believe I just seen that?
I remember when I was amateur, and I remember I was watching this amateur contest, and this guy come back down, sat in his corner when the bell ended the round, and his buddy passed him a pint, and he's drinking a pint and sat in the corner.
It's mad, there's absolutely crazy. It's crazy. British title, so that's a big moment in your career.
Absolutely.
How old would you have been then when you won that?
I was probably about 21, I think.
You're still so young, innit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Commonwealth at 17, Welsh title not long, after that, 21 British title. Like, that's a lot very quickly for a man, It's considering as well you weren't, you didn't have a sporty background, you've just gone in, you've got that natural ability, and suddenly you've just worked your way up. It's almost like you just went through the stepping stones to where you wanted to go.
Yeah, I love the sport, and even like when I was amateur, when the season ended, it'd be months before the season started again, but I'd train right through the off season.
Yeah.
That's how much I love boxing and how much it meant to me.
Do you used to watch a lot of boxing as well?
Wouldn't miss a fight. I could name every Welsh, world, European champion back in them days, in all the weights.
Yeah. So when you're an amateur, say, and you're on your way to turning pro, what sort of fighters would you have been like watching and idolising and kind of focusing on?
Even though he's retired then, but there's always obviously a lot of footage you always see, with the greatest Muhammad Ali, and he's many fighters.
Yeah.
Greatest of all time, and he's the man who inspired me.
And you look at people like that, and I suppose when you look at fighters like that who have got the natural ability, they got the gift of the gab as well, and they're entertainers. Is that something which you wanted to take into your career, was to be entertaining as well as a good fighter?
Like to put on a show, and I don't think I was ever in a bad fight, so
no. Every fight I've seen of yours was just entertaining from start to finish.
Okay.
So you went from that British title fight, and then you move in towards. You've always got your eyes on that world title, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
That was where you were interested in going. How long was it in terms of? Do you have many fights after the British title fight? In between those?
Well, I won the European in between that, and my first world title fight, and then after winning the European title, and I made one defence, and I relinquished that title because I had a world title fight lined up, and then that fight fell through. I think I signed to fight 3-4 different world champions, and they all fell through. Never happened. So I had to go back in to boxing 10 rounders just to take me over until my world title chance come.
When those fights were falling through, that must have been very frustrating, because obviously, like we've talked about, like you've said to me before, like being a world champion was your aim. That's where you wanted to get to. you've gone through, the British, the Welsh, the European titles. You've relinquished them, or you've relinquished the European one, and then you've got these title shots, but then it falls through. Like, how do you deal with that mentally? Because it must feel like someone's dangling your dream in front of you and then taking it away.
It's very hard. Yeah, it's hard to get motivated. And when we've won major titles and all these world title fights falling through, and then you're going back to boxing, 10 rounders just to go over. It's hard to get motivated for them fights because your dream, and you've been promised so many world title fights. But it is disheartening, but you've just got to stick in the good times as well as the hard times.
And after that's happened a couple of times, I suppose when they offer you another one, then world title shot, you say yes, but you're thinking, oh yeah, this is going to fall through, or this is going to, there's going to be some problem with it. Like you mentioned, you fought in Cardiff for a lot of all your title fights, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you ever think about fighting sort of elsewhere? Would that have sort of
it's always a fighter's dream and to box in America, which I did get offered the chance to go to America, but at the same time I got offered the chance to fight for the world title in Wales, and I was going up 2 weights, which I was really killing myself make flyweight then, so I jumped at the chance because I had a shot at the bantamweight title without any other fights, so yeah, I took our fight in Wales.
So you went so you went up from flyweight to bantamweight. Yeah. I'm assuming that was a lot easier weight-wise, because
it was a lot easier. But I used to have to dry out 2 pound overnight making flyweight. You don't need to drink anything, and you naturally dry out 2 pound.
Yeah.
I still had to do all at bantamweight, so it's still a struggle. You had to work hard to make bantamweight.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what I was doing to make flyweight.
Jesus. Not healthy, mate.
No. But
knowing what we know now about everything, really, from just weight cutting generally, but also the damage it can do if you get hit when you haven't got that water and things like that. You didn't know that back in the day.
No, and back in my time, the weigh-in was on a day of the fight. So I was even.
So there was no rehydrating and all that for a couple of days. No. Jesus. Yeah, it's a scary thought in some ways.
I think now when you got that weigh-in 24 hours before, but it's making fighters make weight so they really can't make, but because they got 24 hours, they think they can
get themselves back to it. Yeah, it's brutal. You see some of the videos of the fighters cutting weight, and it's not nice. And I don't know what the solution is, I gotta be honest, because if you weigh in on the day like you used to, they'll still kill themselves to make it, but they haven't got the time to recover and rehydrate and everything before the fight.
It's catch-22.
Yeah. And it's a dangerous enough sport, mate, anyway, isn't it? At the end of the day, you're taking your life into your hands, if you like. And we've seen many boxers, unfortunately, get hurt. There was a boxer recently who unfortunately died. I think it was South Africa. I forget now, but and that was a scary one. And I got really frustrated with some people on social media because when the clip first came out on like a Sunday morning,
I remember watching it myself.
He's winning the fight and he knocks his opponent, and his opponent sort of falls out of the ring. He gets back in, and then when the ref tells him to go back, he starts going towards the ref, as if he's boxing the ref, and then the ref moves, and then he starts going against the corner. And like, I saw a lot of people on social media and laughing, and I was like, even at that point where he had, he got taken to hospital and stuff, and then unfortunately fell into a coma and lost his life. But like, even at that early stage, to me, you could tell something's wrong. Yeah. And to see people, laughing at it, I was like, a lot of them are boxing fans as well. That I didn't understand. I didn't like it.
No, that's wrong. It's wrong.
But it shows you the risk that you guys take.
Absolutely. You know the risk. Every time you go out and you put your life on the line. But I've done deals with promoters, when I'm asking for save some more money, and I tell the promoter that every time I go in there, mind and put my life on the line, I've had a promoter say to me, well, if you feel like I shouldn't be boxing.
That's crazy, and I think like boxing, I think is better now in terms of the corruption and the dodgy guys involved behind the scenes. I think it is better now, I think, to a certain extent. But like, I'm sure you came across many shady character in the behind the scenes and stuff, and or would have known about people like that involved in the game. They don't care about the fighters. Those people, they just care about lining their pockets.
That's correct. Yeah.
To me, we need fighters to be getting paid accordingly.
Well, probably just be looked after.
Yes.
And just get what they deserve.
100%. And like we said, 15-20 minutes ago, without the fighters, there's no boxing.
That's right.
So let's look after the fighters in their careers, at the start of their careers, during their careers, and after their careers. Financially
you never see after you retire from boxing, you never see many skin promoters.
No, you do not. That's a very, very good point. And yeah, I suppose that's a nice thought about that. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. But you're right. Yeah, you don't see promoters kind of struggling and having issues and whatever because their boxing's been taken away from them. Because they weren't doing the training every day and putting their life on the line, and well, scary thoughts. But so your world titles fell through. Frustrated, very disheartened. You've done a couple of 10-rounders to keep going. You get your world title shot there.
My first world title fight then. Yeah.
You must have been excited at that point because it's finally happening.
Absolutely,
at some point.
As my luck have been over the last couple of years, I damaged my hand in training when I was training for this world title fight. So I had to delay the fight, and to make this champion weight, he wanted more money. So the promoter took it out of my purse. He said, if you want him to wait, you're going to have to take a cut in your wages and you're going to have to pay him. I said, we'll do that. Yeah, no problem. So then, a few weeks before the fight, the champion pulls out. So I said, that's all right, but I am paying, I got to wait for him now, so I'm not giving him that.
Yeah.
I want what's originally agreed, which was signed,
fair enough, isn't it?
Which was agreed. And then coming the day of my world title fight, we're going through how I'm getting paid and where's it going and how much. And that had been taken out of my purse. That the money that he wanted. And I had a big argument with the promoter, and he said, if you feel like I call the fight off, how can I call the fight off when I've sold all these thousands of tickets? And
it's your dream.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah,
So he knows that, doesn't he?
My head wasn't right going into that fight, it was the first time in my life that I didn't want to be in there. Didn't want to be in a ring. But then I think, this guy was a good champion, a Mexican, and Alberto Jimenez. He hit me in places I didn't know I had. And after 5 rounds, I sort of thought, well, you're here now. Get on with it, And then I had a great 6th, 7th, and 9th round, and my corner decided to pull me out, which obviously they got their own reasons, and obviously they got my best interests at heart. But his power had gone, and he winked at me at the end of the 9th round. He knew he was in the fight and he was going to struggle as much as we were in the last 3 rounds.
Just so they pulled you, did they?
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's frustrating. It's bound to be after all those disappointments in the build-up in terms of the fights. Different world title shots falling through. Then you finally got it. You've had a little injury. You've done the right thing and said, look, I'm asking you to delay the fight, so you can have my, a cut of my wages or whatever. Unfortunately, when the roles reversed, suddenly they're trying to, basically screwing you out of it.
That's right.
And for that to happen, on the day of the fight, I think
that's
terrible.
It's not the kind of build-up you need.
No, it's not.
You need for a
Absolutely
world
not.
title fight. They're supposed to be in my corner, these promoters, but they're not. They look after number one.
Yeah.
But after that fight, then then some luck finally come my way. The IBF champion, Danny Romero, was injured and indisposed, so they're looking for an interim world champion to take over until Danny's well enough to come back. And so I got the opportunity to box the interim title, and I fought the number 1 contender, who was unbeaten in 19 fights with about 17 knockouts, and I took him apart in 2 rounds. So that was a special night for myself.
And I suppose it's almost like taking the frustration out of the first title shot you had.
Yeah.
Taking it into that and using it. You said at the start, you learn more about a defeat than anything, and you'd have had a bit of frustration and stuff from that initial title fight. and you've gone in there and maybe made a point.
Yeah,
Taking him apart,
and you know,
like.
and just being 100% fit,
The
and
right build-up.
mentally right, you know, and that's what you need going into world title fights.
Of course, yeah. So you use the interim title.
Yeah.
What a day! Celebrate that, did you?
Yeah, you know, we had a big party after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
So you know when, like, would you come back to, where would you be living there, like Bargoed Way or whatever? You'd have come back and you'd have had like a bit of a party and everyone welcomes you back and that.
Yeah, your fans and everybody who's
It's got to be special, isn't it?
It is, you know.
Because they're your people, and they at the end of the day, they're
yeah,
like the
it's-
people who you see around when you go to the
and
shop.
your
and-
friends, your family, you know, it's everybody close to you.
Mm.
And to celebrate something like that with them is amazing.
How do you feel about interim titles in terms of, generally there's a lot of them now, isn't there?
Yeah, they're good because they keep the title alive. You know, if a champion's injured, and he's going to be out for like sometimes 12 months or longer.
Yeah.
So you know, it's good to keep the title active. You know, and these fighters get a chance to make some money.
Yeah, I can see that. So when you've got that interim title, was it basically a case of then just waiting for the champion to be fit so you could fight for it, or did you defend the interim title?
It wasn't long after that Danny Romero come back.
Yeah.
And he decided he didn't want to fight me, and he went up in weight instead. So they should have made me full champion then. But they wanted me to fight another number one contender.
Always one more.
Yeah, so you know, I wasn't happy with the IBF, and finally another good bit of luck on my way where the bantamweight champion Daniel Jimenez was tied to a promoter over here, was tied to Frank Warren.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been looking to move up in weight. So that fight was easy to make because I was under Warren and all. So I jumped at the chance to fight him, and you know, to moving up 2 weights. And again, the boxing news, the bookies made me a 4-1 underdog. I mean, Daniel had come over here and he'd won 3 times before. He'd beaten some very good fighters. He beat Drew Doherty. He beat a very good fighter in Alfred Cote. I'd done exhibition with, and I know how good Cote was. And he also took a super bantamweight title off Duke McKenzie, who's Britain's only 3-weight world champ. So I was some win. So you know, to beat
He was
him,
a real fighter then.
yeah, and you know, to win in any round, I think it was 80-1, and I dropped him in the 8th round, and it was a bit of a long count. It was like a 14-second count.
No. What's that feeling when you've knocked him down, and you must know that, you know, this is it now, but he's kind of stirring slowly, the ref's counting slowly.
Yeah.
It must feel like an age.
Well, he went down, he got up, and he went down again. So it's like a referee took up 2 counts.
Yeah, he should have probably, when he went
And
down
then-
again.
And then the bell went
Mm.
before I could
Before
go
it
back
was
to it.
over,
Like,
yeah.
So I think the bell saved him there. But
Yeah.
I won widely on points, and that was just amazing to finally achieve my dream and, you know, repay all my fans. They believe in me, and you know, to win the world title for them, you know, because that championship belongs to each and every one of them.
Absolutely. You mentioned Frank Warren there. You were under him. Do you remember the first? Obviously, Frank is still going strong in the business and doing very well. Do you remember the first time you met Frank Warren and when he sort of brought you into his stable of fighters,
well,
if you like?
Yeah, he approached me that I think it was a Manvi defence coming up for my European title fight, and he won the purse bid. So you know, that's the first dealings I had with Frank Warren.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because like he's still going strong, and he's doing really, really well. One of the biggest promoters in the game, in the world, really, and has helped a lot of fighters over the years. Obviously, done very well for himself as well. So like, not all promoters are bad, and I want to be clear. Like, that's not what I'm saying. That all promoters are bad. I just wish sometimes that promoters generally would look after their fighters a bit more.
Absolutely, like I said, if any fighter thinks that they'd only look after them, they're very mistaken, because every promoter puts itself first. That's no doubt about that.
No doubt. So, world champion. where did we go from there? Like, where was... I'm assuming you were on the high of all highs. You were on top of the world. You've done it. What that guy laughed at you for when you told him you were going to be world champ.
Yeah.
You was the world champ.
Yeah, you know, it was absolutely amazing. You know, I had an open top bus through Blackwood, and two of my sporting heroes were on top deck with me. You know, the great Howard Winston, the Welsh wizard himself, and Phil Bennett.
Amazing.
The amazing Phil Bennett. So that was a great honour to have them on my bus. And we had a big party, and it was something I'll never forget.
Do you feel that bit like... You used to, like, when you were stood on that open top bus with your world title, and you got Phil Bennett and the other gentleman you said, Howard, sorry. Does it feel a bit surreal to you, like, to see these two heroes next to you?
Yeah.
And you got the world title belt, and you're going through your home, your hometown or whatever. And
you know, that's living a dream, innit?
Yeah.
You know, that's living a dream.
Doesn't get better than that, mate.
No,
really, like.
No.
Everything you've worked for at that point, you know, from when you first went into that gym, and you had the natural ability, everything from then has led to that moment of winning the title, bringing it home to celebrate with your people, your town, your village. It's something which people can never take away from you, mate. And I think
it's a big weight off your shoulders. You know what I mean?
it must be, isn't it?
Yeah,
because you've done it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Finally done it.
Like, especially for you, because between the European title fight and winning that world title fight, you've had bad luck, you've had an injury, you've had title fights falling through. At some point you must have been a bit like, this is never going to happen. Like, it's just...
it is disheartening.
Because you're a human being at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it is disheartening, but you know, that's all I ever dreamt about.
You know, like you, obviously you had that celebration and stuff. What about your parents? Like, when you first went to do boxing, were they like all in behind you? Were they a bit worried about you fighting and your health and stuff like that, or were they just always behind you?
He was always behind me, you know. My father, even from the amateurs, wherever I boxed in the AVAs up in Preston or whatever we'd be fighting, you know, my father would be there supporting me, always.
Yeah, and I suppose, like you mentioned it being a weight off your shoulders when you finally was able to win that title, but also I suppose it's like when parents run you everywhere around the country when you're a kid, and when they follow you everywhere as a fighter and stuff like that, to be able to say, I've done it.
Yeah,
this, you know, I'm the champion of the world.
He says, you know, you want to win it for them and your fans as much as you do for yourself.
Yeah, of course. So, from a fighting perspective, you have your party. What's next from there?
That's when bad luck struck down on me again. I got an illness, a virus, and that put me out for over a year. It took a long time to get diagnosed, actually, and it wasn't until a doctor who specialises in foreign blood disorders found out what was wrong with me. It was a glandular fever-related virus called Epstein-Barr, which Jonah Lomo had it, actually. He had the same virus, and it finished his career. So a big, strong bloke like that, if he finishes him, you can imagine what he done to me.
I mean, glandular fever is brutal on its own, but I'm assuming, you know, other variations would be even worse. How do you know how that came about, or how you got it, or?
I have got no idea. I couldn't tell you to this day, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody. You know, you don't feel ill, but you try and do something, and then you just fatigue.
Wipes you out for hours and hours at a time. Yeah, like glandular fever is like that, and like you don't necessarily feel, you know, ill, but you'll get up and do something, and then you have to sleep for 6 hours.
I was running, you know, 60 miles a week up hills like that, and you know, so I think, right, go through a nice couple of miles run now. I got to the second lamppost and just couldn't run no more. Not out of breath, you're just fatigued, and unless you've had it yourself, it's hard to explain how bad it is.
But then again, I suppose, like, mentally, that must be so frustrating for you, because you would have, you know, you've got to the highest high, you're looking to defend your title and go and push on, and then you've got this illness, but you don't know what it is, and no one seems to know what it is. You finally get it, you got it diagnosed. So you had a year out. Did they do an interim title then for when you were out?
Yeah, they did.
Okay. So I'm assuming in that year you didn't do a great deal of training then if you were struggling with fatigue.
I kept trying to go back, you never know when this virus is going to go, or if you've still got it until you try and do some training, and then you find out.
Yeah. Was there a treatment for it or anything once they found out what it was?
There's nothing they can give you. That's all they say is rest and hot weather is what he said to me. Just go and have all day in the sun somewhere.
Yeah, Jesus, that's crazy. And you could see then, I suppose, how it did end the careers of Jonah Lomu, because I'm sure there's probably other sportsmen around about it as well. Because if there's no treatment for it, what can you do?
And you don't know when it's ever going to go.
If it's going to go at all.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you this day actually when I did get better.
Yeah.
I don't even know myself.
You just kind of kept trying every now and again. And
well, like I say, when I tried to come back and I filled out routine brain scan, they found some scar tissue on my brain, so I lost my leg sense.
Okay.
But I still had that virus then. So I couldn't. So obviously I wasn't training, and when I finished boxing I retired, so I wasn't doing that training. So I wouldn't have to put myself in that position where I was fatigued.
Yeah.
So I never knew when it really left me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that was devastating when that, the day they told you that you were losing your license.
It was like someone close to me dying. That's how bad it was. When I went into depression for a long time.
And we talked about like the lack of support back in them days for boxers and stuff, but that's what unfortunately that's what happened to you. You had it taken away from you through no fault of your own. You didn't even get injured necessarily in a particular fight, like you just had an illness and then they found the scar tissue on your brain. And you said like you struggled with depression afterwards. Like how did you deal with that? Like what was the feelings like for that? Because
well, I started drinking, and you're drinking to forget. People see you out drinking, think you're enjoying yourself. You're not enjoying yourself. You just drinking to forget.
Yeah, and I suppose you're a hero to so many still, but particularly then you would have been. Everyone would have known your face and known who you are. And if they see you out having a couple of beers, they would have wanted, have a beer, Robbie. I'll buy you a drink. And of course, like you say, everyone thinks you're, happy and having a great time. And really, inside, I'm assuming you would have been,
devastated.
Devastated. And you wake up the next day and hungover and feel worse.
It's a never-ending circle.
Yeah. How did you break that cycle?
I did it. Well, I opened a boxing gym. I did.
Mm-hmm.
So that occupied my time, and it was great to give the kids from where I'm from, up in Kent Forest, somewhere to go, something to do.
Yeah.
Get them off the streets, but unfortunately, after a few months, they sold that building. So gym unfortunately closed down. But I had a long, a year or two in that gym, and so I was able to break that cycle. So
gives you a bit of focus again, doesn't it? Something which you could put your heart and soul into, basically, innit?
Yeah, get your mind off what else you're doing.
And I suppose, boxing had been your life for so long, and training every day and being around boxing and boxing people. By opening that gym, yes, you did all the positive things with the kids and stuff like that, but it gave you a focus. It also kept you in boxing, the sport you've loved all those years, and that's what broke that cycle, basically, did it, of drinking and depression and stuff like that. I'm assuming, because it's not like a magic thing, is it, where it just goes away. I'm assuming there was still difficult times where you still felt young enough that you could still be fighting.
Yeah.
So you'd have been a bit frustrating. Like, what who was the people who kind of, helped you through those tough times and stuff like that, and supported you?
Close friends to me. My good friend Julian, who without him the gym wouldn't have been there. So
Yeah.
So it helped me through a lot. Like.
And I know you've got an event coming up at the Valley Tavern with Michael Watson. Like, did you meet Michael during your career or after your career or?
Yeah, I met him during my career, but I didn't really know him well, and I hadn't met him that long, and then unfortunately it was the fight with Eubank.
Yeah.
It was the second fight with Eubank. You know, Michael was robbed blind in the first fight as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of people know that. And he was, he had Eubank beat. Eubank was down, and he got up, and he showed basically a desperation punch, and they got him out of jail, basically.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, and obviously, Michael came out with catastrophic. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was a brain injury, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they told him, basically that he wasn't gonna have much chance of living. I think.
No, they told his family he won't survive from the injuries, these horrific injuries he had, and he did survive. And then they told him he would never walk again, and he ended up walking the London Marathon.
Yeah, that was fairly recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, and well, what they didn't know is what a champion and man they were
what
treated.
A mindset he had to be able to just the mentality to be able to get through those injuries, and it's difficult, isn't it, to put into words like how much. Like, he was basically, like you said, he was told that he wasn't going to survive. Not only did he survive all these years later, but he's walked the London Marathon. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about this event at the Valley Tavern, where Michael's going to be there, and he's going to sort of, I'm assuming he's going to speak to people and questions and that.
It's going to be an evening with me, Michael, and a couple of very special guests, another 2 surprise world champions. So it's going to be a great night for any boxing or sporting fan, or anybody just looking for a great night out. It'll be a night that you won't never forget. There's going to be entertainment. There's not buffet. It's going to be a fabulous night.
And what date is that?
That's August the 26th.
August 26th. And is there still tickets left?
Yeah,
tickets left?
Tickets haven't not that long been on sale, so you can get them for myself or the Valley Tavern.
Okay, and again, I'll put links in the description and stuff. And whilst this episode, the full episode might not be out before the 26th of August, what I will make sure is I clip this bit, and I'll get the clip out beforehand so that people can, get involved, get the link, and then hopefully they'll come and watch the full episode and hear some stories from Robbie. So I want to hear some stories from you now, mate. Then I want to hear some just some stories maybe that the people haven't heard before, like from your career, from behind the scenes, wherever it may be.
There's a couple of funny stories. I remember when I was fighting Danny Porter, and this was going to be a real tough fight for me, and I had to pull out of the fight. I was making voluntary defence, my European title and I got injured, and they had to pull out for a few weeks. So we got the fight back on, and he was telling people in the press conference that I was scared of him, and that's why I pulled out. And he's going to knock me out in the 3rd round. And he was even coming up to the crowd before the fight, and with the 3 fingers, he said, going 3rd round. Well, he did have the round right, but it was the other way around. I knocked him out in the 1st round. And a couple of years after I retired, a funny story is my buddy Di, he asked me, he said, what round did you knock Danny Porter out then? I said, it was the 3rd round, Di. He said, no, I won. There's a 5th round. I said, no, Di, it was the 3rd round. He said, no, Rob, it was the 5th round. He said, trust me, I was there. I said, Di, it was the 3rd round. Trust me, I was there.
See, to me, maybe it's because I'm childish, I don't know. But if a fighter had been spouting off about how he was going to beat me in 3 rounds, and then I sparked him out in the 3rd round, I'd have to say something to him as he was there. I just have to, but I suppose there's a certain respect level from fighters and boxers. But it must have been a nice feeling, because when someone's saying they're going to do something to you, and then
to knock Danny out, it was a good fight. And the fight before, he lost on points for the world title to get by Pat Clinton. So to demolish him in 3 rounds after him going the distance for world title fight was quite a win.
Impressive for you. When do you think people outside of Wales, maybe in the close vicinity of your people who knew you coming through the ranks, when do you think people really took notice of you?
I think it was after the Welsh title fight. It was only probably 20, maybe 30 fans I had, and I was in the Starlight Centre in Cardiff. So straight after my Welsh title fight, and obviously that was televised, so I made people take notice. And my next fight then was for the British title, which was in the National Sports Centre. So it was a big jump from the Starlight Centre to National Sports Centre, and the arena was full. So from having 20 or maybe 30 people supporting now, tens of thousands.
It's a big difference, isn't it?
It's
Big difference. And like you said, you didn't have very many boring fights, mate. Do you know? So
that's why I always want to entertain and give value for money.
Indeed. Have you got any regrets apart from like maybe the way things were finished? Obviously, that was out of your hands.
Yeah.
But have you got any regrets when you look back about? It didn't sound like you turned down many fights anyway, but like decisions you made or just anything like that.
Well, there's one or two things that I would have done differently, but overall, I'm content with what I done and what I set out to achieve, and I achieved that.
You wanted to be the world champion. You were the world champion. No one could take that away, isn't it? At the end of the day, like I know you mentioned to me like that you didn't get the chance to fight in America. Is that something which you wish you had done, or is it just wasn't the right decision for you at the time? Like
my biggest regret is not getting a chance to defend my world title. To be defending champion, and for the MC to announce who was the reigning world champion.
Yeah.
To your own crowd. That's my biggest regret.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that was out of your hands, health-wise, and yeah, it's just.
I think I would have had a lot more regrets, and I would have been even in a bigger depression if I didn't achieve my dream. If I wasn't world champ, that would be a big blow.
So if it had been taken away from you before that world title shot,
that would have been hard to live with, I think. Knowing that I was good enough to be world champ and never getting that chance.
I suppose especially because your opportunities fell through so many times out of your hands, and look, as things worked out, like you achieved your dream, of course. And unfortunately, it worked out that you weren't able to defend it. But if those fights hadn't have fallen through, there would have been a window. But you can't go with ifs and buts, can you? No. At the end of the day, you set out all them years ago to be world champion. You achieved it, and you achieved it in style. And I think boxing fans, they know you, they idolise you, they respect your skill. Because I think, yes, you're entertaining, and you had a couple of wars and you knocked some people out and stuff like that, which is all fine, but I think genuine boxing fans respect the skill level that you had, the natural ability, and I think they call it the sweet science, don't they?
I could go on back photo, I could pressure a fighter, I could box 3-4 different ways.
What was your favourite kind of way to go?
Well, just depends on my fight then. My tactics, my style would be to beat that boy. So
just win nicely. What about like you said you're a heavy metal fan? Was that like your choice of music to do your ring walks and things like that, or did you go a different direction?
No, I went a different direction with that.
Like some cheesy pop music.
Yeah, it's a bit mad because loving all rock music. My ring anthem song would be "Get Ready, Here I Come" by the Temptations.
That's a good song.
As I come in, it would change into hymns and arias. Land of My Fathers.
See, there's a classic Welsh anthem.
That's patriotic in me.
Yeah, you got it. The Welsh fighters seem to have that patriotic streak. I think it's a Welsh thing actually, isn't it? Generally, like Welsh football, Welsh rugby, everything. Me and you must be one of the only two Welsh boys in Wales between the 80s and 90s who didn't play rugby. Like,
yeah, I think we are. Must be.
Just like maybe we're too small. I don't know. But as we kind of wrap up, Robbie, like I could see and just talk to you for hours, mate. It's nothing but a pleasure. I've been really looking forward to it, and I have not disappointed whatsoever. What do you make of the boxing scene as of today, generally?
Oh, there's some very good fighters out there. I'm a big fan of Usyk. I mean,
How do you see him and AJ going second time round?
I can't see AJ beating him. I just don't see how we can beat him.
I don't think he can beat him if he tries to box the same way he did in the first. I thought he got his tactics wrong.
The only chance he got, because he is a naturally bigger heavyweight, and he does it. He's got power. The only chance is to knock Usyk out, but Usyk can take such a good shot. So I just don't see how he can win.
Usyk is so elusive, and his head movement is just out of this world.
His speed, and his boxing brain is phenomenal.
So you think Usyk could probably take him again?
Yeah, absolutely.
If we, and it's a big if, I think, if we see Tyson Fury versus Usyk, assuming Usyk wins, do you see Tyson Fury beating him, or do you think Usyk could beat him as well?
I think it's a bit an harder fight to predict, but I'd probably stick with Usyk.
See, that's really interesting.
That's why I rate him.
Yeah, and I think a few people whose boxing opinions I trust have said similar. Like our mutual friend Alan, he said to me probably 4 years ago, I think it was, or some 3 years ago, that Usyk was going to be the one to take out all of them and sort of reign supreme over the heavyweight division. And I got to be honest, I couldn't see it at that point. I was like, well, I do think Tyson Fury is special. To be that big, but to be that skilled is unusual, isn't it? And it's a weird style.
Well, before Usyk, the only doubt I had before Usyk moved up was he big enough? So we will find out.
Yeah, we will. It's going to be a really interesting fight. I think Anthony Joshua's, he has shown he can come back from adversity before. Obviously, he had that shock loss, didn't he, to Ruiz, and then he came back and won. Should never have probably lost that fight.
Should never have lost to a fighter like Ruiz. But I know you obviously underestimated him, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I think that's to me, that's the only mark on his career, because I think any other fighter you can lose. You can lose to anyone on your day if you're not switched on. But I think Ruiz is just not on that level.
No, but I think he exposed Joshua that night as well.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot bigger hitters out there than Ruiz. So
a fight I would like to see one day is, or I don't know if we'll see it now, but it's Deontay Wilder versus AJ. I think that'd be a good one.
Yeah, it'd be explosive, wouldn't it? That's for sure.
Yeah, it'd be really, really. Be very interested to see if Anthony Joshua could put him away the same way. Because Fury kind of put on a bit of a clinic and came back against Wilder, wasn't he?
That fight was going. It was going each and every other way, every other round, wasn't it? They was both down. So it was an exciting fight.
It was amazing. What about Welsh fighters? Which Welsh fighters do you enjoy watching?
At the moment, there's Joe Cordina, and he was absolutely fabulous. The style he won that world title in, it was quite brilliant.
It's what dreams are made of, isn't it? To have your world title fight and spark someone out in your hometown, and
this
is what you dream of, isn't it?
That's living the dream.
Yeah, cannot get any better than that. Obviously, we got people like Gav Gwyn, who is like Welsh Commonwealth and British champion at the moment. He'll be looking to make the similar steps to what you made now. And you think that he's on the right track to go in another direction?
When you think that Cordina sparked out how easy sparked out to go, and he boxed Gavin, and Gav took him the distance and gave him a good fight, a decent fight. So
why not?
Gavin improved himself.
I think Gav's got better better and better over the last couple of years with every fight. And I think when you look back to that Joe Cordina fight, you can see that he's learned some lessons from that.
That's it, you know.
And that goes right back to the start of what we're talking about, doesn't
you know,
it?
you learn more from a loss than a win.
Mhm.
And I always say, yeah.
If you're not winning, you're learning, as the saying goes. So, I will put links and everything to the Valley Tavern event, and I'll obviously put that out as a clip as well. And I will also put links to the Ringside Trust, is it?
Yeah.
And we'll put all the links there. You might have to help me just sort out the links, but I'll sort it out. So it'll all be below. Make sure you check them out. Spread the word about the channel, everybody. And most importantly, support Ringside Trust. If you can get down to... What area is the Valley Tavern in? It's like...
It's in Fleur-de-Lys.
Fleur-de-Lys.
Just outside Blackwood.
Yeah, so there you go. Just outside Blackwood in South Wales, up the valleys. But it's not too far if you're sort of Cardiff based, really. It's not it's not miles away, is it?
No.
So I think definitely worth going. I know some of the people who are going to be there. I would go, definitely, if I were you. Get your tickets, as I say. And of course, Mr. Robbie Regan will be there, so that's the main thing. The main man, the champ.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure, my friend. I've really enjoyed chatting to you. Really enjoyed having a coffee with you earlier, and hopefully we'll get you in again, mate, one day as well.
I look forward to it.
Chat,
It's a privilege to come out.
It's been good fun. Get you down in the big city, as it were. But guys, subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and also if you could support our sponsors and stuff like that, Violent Money, violentmoney.co.uk. Use the code ACE20, get 20% off. They've got a collaboration with Weekend Defender for all their clothing and stuff like that. Some real good stuff. Please do support them, because that helps us as well. Use the code ACE20 and check them out on social media. Until then, check out patreon.com/AcePodcastNation, and we will see you again for next week's episode. Cheers, guys. Thanks, champ. Fist bumps. Let's go. Cheers, buddy.
Lovely job. Yeah.